how do we stop our Citadel paints from drying out in the pots? The world is getting hotter each year, and what may not have been a problem before might now be becoming an issue. Let's see if we can borrow the concept of one product and use it for another. Welcome back to the State of Play. I thought I'd do two videos this week for two reasons. One, to show that this channel isn't always going to be about Zone Mortalis, and two, because I wanted to get this one out before it gets hotter everywhere. Because let's face it, if it's anything like last year, we know it's coming. On this channel I like to look at things differently. Modify things, enhance things, to make them work better and do things they weren't originally designed to do. It's usually with terrain, but this premise can also be extended to the hobby itself. Now, you may or may not have this problem depending on where you live and what your climate's like. I've noticed that most of the year is fine for leaving your paints on a shelf like this, in a wonderful display of vibrant colour, easy to access, easy to see, quick to grab. Or you might just chuck them in a huge messy pile of disorganised colour like Byron at Artis Opus. Sorry Byron, huge fan. However you arrange your hobby space, your paint is still liable to the whims of temperature. More months of the year are getting hotter. What used to be only 3 whole days of summer in the UK is quickly becoming months of long dry heat trapped in small rooms. Hosepipe bans are now a yearly occurrence, and the rooms we paint in are topping 36 degrees Celsius. Aircon in your house in the UK is something we discuss every single year, and yet every single year we don't install it, because by the time we've made a decision the temperature's dropped and, well, we didn't really need it anyway, did we? Did we? Did we? Skip to next year and we have the same conversation all over again. At least that's how it used to work. These days we have weeks and weeks of paint drying heat. Temperatures are getting up to 40 degrees Celsius in places for days in a row, and your wet palette seems to need a drink every 5 minutes. And our paints, that used to be safe and comfortable, staring back at us from our carefully planned storage shelves, are now looking at us with heat exhaustion, begging for help. This got me thinking. I think most of us are aware of the cleaning hack on Citadel Pots, where we keep the gunk from the rim to let the lid close tightly. It works, but it only goes so far. What if we could totally steal the concept of one product and use it for another? This is a cigar humidor. It's designed to stop cigars from drying out and keeps the tobacco moist. No, I don't smoke cigars, never have, and don't really fancy starting. In fact, this thing has sat in the back of my cupboard for many years, since I was given it as a gift. I have no idea whatsoever why this was given to me as a gift. It's right up there in my list of insane gifts given to me over the years that I'd never ever use, ranked from a nail manicure set to a unicycle. Although, being honest, the nail set had some amazing modelling tools and a great set of sprue cutters. Who knew? One day I might do a video about painting a miniature whilst riding a unicycle. But today's not that day. The humidor is just a box with a sponge that you dampen. When it's closed, the environment inside stays humid due to the moisture trapped in the sponge. The instructions said you just have to keep wetting the sponge every few days or when it's dried out, and the cigars inside don't dry out and become all brittle and crumbly. Because apparently you don't want your flammable dried out leaves to be too dried out and flammable. Cigars! This is a 4-litre storage box from the Really Useful Storage Company. Yes, that's actually its name. You could just as easily use any closable plastic box. This is a plastic tray, and this is a sponge. You can see where I'm going with this. Just put it together like this. Wet the sponge so it's damp but not soaked, and put your paints in the other side. And you've got yourself a large-scale humidor for paints that keeps them from drying out during long hot summers. If you're worried about mould on the sponge, which can happen over time, there's 2 ways that help. One is to put a few drops of antibacterial dish soap in the water before you wet the sponge. And the second is to add a few pieces of copper into the plastic tray. Copper contains minerals that can kill mould because... science. Check the sponge every few days and wet it again. If any condensation forms on the lid of the box, just wipe it off. Or you could just top the plastic tray with a permeable membrane like cheesecloth or mesh to reduce that. And like the cigars you probably don't smoke either, your paint won't dry out and cause sleepless nights. I mean, the heat is doing a good enough job of that anyway. Not a long video today, but some of the most useful things don't require overly complicated explanations. I'll see you in the next video where I paint the eyes on an entire Necromunda gang whilst riding a unicycle.